Hello, this is Scarlet and Rage podcast. Thank you for taking time to tune in today. No matter when you're tuning in, this is a live episode. It was an impromptu live episode. So I don't know really if we're going to have anybody tuning in since this is the first time we have really done something like this. But regardless, it was just the best way to get the video out there because as soon as we finish up tonight, it will be posted immediately. So if you're watching, whenever you're watching, if you would like and subscribe to the podcast, help us get back out in the YouTube algorithm. As many of you know, we had fantastic, somewhat of a fantastic season at times last year, a lot of enthusiasm and engagement. And then we took a long break, and we are trying to get this channel going once again. So thank you for helping if you like and subscribe. And Rage, I've got a message for Buckeye Nation tonight.
What is that message, Michael?
Well, I've been on the message boards. I've listened to the podcast from the Buckeye Beat. I have, kind of read every Buckeye Twitter, which tends to be far more negative than your 247 boards or your Buckeye podcast for the most part. Twitter is kind of where they are the nastiest about things, but I've looked at all of these and I see that Buckeye fans are pretty divided. And I think we're in kind of a sad state as a fan base right now. Because we've got one group, which I do believe is actually still a minority, but that minority is starting to become very close to dead even, or if things keep going the way they will, it'll be a majority very soon. Now, we don't know how things are going to go, and that's what we're arguing about. There's the side that does not think Ryan Day has what it takes to get it done at Ohio State. And then there's the side that is like undyingly committed to Ryan Day as the greatest coach to ever coach at Ohio State. And I don't get that view at all, Jay. If you like Ryan Day, that's fantastic. Okay. There's a lot to like about Ryan Day. You know, I'm not Ryan Day's biggest fan. You're well aware of that, but there's a lot to like about Ryan Day. So I can understand why some Buckeye fans really, really like Ryan Day. I don't understand how far they take it to like Ryan Day is going to be the greatest Ohio State coach of all time, and they're so sure and convinced of it. What up to this point has led you to that conclusion? Has it been, the 2-7 record in top 5 games? I don't know. And I'm not saying that Ryan Day can't be great. I'm saying there's nothing that he showed us this far that would necessarily say, oh, I definitely think he's going to win multiple national championships here. But you've got these two sides going back and forth, and they're arguing, and it gets nasty. And people get really nasty with me on a particular Ohio State board. But there's a lot of good guys on there too. And so I think it would be much easier if we could both just kind of like understand and recognize. And the side that isn't happy with Ryan Day is the side of the fan base that it drives us nuts to see Ohio State, in our view, not reach its full potential. Because we're wanting Ohio State to, and we believe Ohio State is capable of going on a Clemson, Georgia type run. Do I think they're capable of going on a Nick Saban Alabama run? No, I don't. There's no evidence that would ever suggest to me at this stage. That would be like me saying Ryan Day is going to win 3 or 4 national championships and be one of the greatest of all time. I mean, maybe he will, but it would be a real stretch to like definitively make that statement. So I don't think Ohio State is capable of going on an Alabama type run. I do think they're capable under the right coach. And the question is Ryan Day that coach? I do think they're questionable, or they're capable of going on a Urban Meyer, Florida type run, winning 2 in a short period of time, going on a a Georgia type run, maybe even back to back. Some say winning back to backs easier than winning, with a couple of years apart, because if you can win, where a lot of your guys come back, it makes it much easier to repeat. That's why the 2015 team was so painful, because that team was primed to repeat and we didn't. And, there's a lot of the fan base that got very mad at Urban after that, and they never really got over it. And so I think that there's some people that have that same feeling about Ryan Day because he's lost most of the big games. I mean, that's just the facts. That doesn't, that's not controversial. That's just the data at this point. And, I think that we'd be much better off if we would just understand each other, understand that one side really wants to win, and we question whether Ryan Day's the guy to do it. And we can understand the other side that they're happy with it. They feel that this is an enjoyable Ohio State experience for them, and they're all on board the Ryan Day train. Like, okay, that's fine. There's room for both of us in the fan base, but my goodness, like we're looking like clowns, just fighting constantly with one another over all of these little points, and like, just digging in on your side of the aisle, almost like the political nonsense that goes on. So my encouragement to Buckeye Nation is just, let's get past this, regardless of which side of the aisle you're on, whether you are super pro Ryan Day and you think he is the next Nick Saban, or whether you more side with this podcast and we're very unsure whether he's the guy who can lead Ohio State to a national championship. Either's fine. Either's fine. Ultimately, both of us would be ecstatic if Ryan Day ran the table, beats Oregon in the Big Ten championship game, wins 3 playoff games, and brings the trophy back to Columbus. We would all be out of our minds excited for that. And I would take back all of the things I've said about Ryan Day. That's what so many people tell me, like, we want Ryan Day so that I can rub it in your face to win. I'm like, you don't have to rub it in my face. If Ryan Day wins ones, I'll rub it in my own face. I'll say I was wrong. He did it. I questioned whether he could. And I've never really said he definitively can't. I've just said I don't think the odds are necessarily in our favor that he will, because of the way he coaches in big games. And, 2-7 isn't like an anomaly. It's a pattern. And so unless he figures out how to break that pattern, my skepticism kind of remains. But if he does break it, and if this is the season he does it, nobody's going to be happier than me. Nobody's going to be happier to say, I was wrong about Ryan Day. He figured it out.
That was, man, that was a lot, Michael. Let me just say that was a lot. I've spent, the last 7 days, longer than that at this point, grieving. I've been really in grief from all of this. Definitely took me down. It really didn't hit me until about, I feel like about yesterday. I've gotten a little past the Oregon game a little bit. And I've just been trying to I don't know. Again, like I said last week, like my optimism, not that I really had a lot of optimism for this program, but yeah.
I love how you say for the program, how you're now, it's beyond a Ryan Day thing. You've now encompassed just the program in general, like come or go, like you're just encompassing the whole program in your outlook now. Is that right? Or have you kind of like softened on that a bit since the other day?
No, I'm talking about the program.
Okay.
Because, if you want to factor everything all involved, Ross Bjork, I thought that was a really good athletic director hire. But, off topic here a little bit, Ohio State basketball had a scrimmage a couple days ago against the University of Cincinnati in your backyard, Michael. They were atrocious. Again, it wasn't on TV. I saw a little bit of highlights. I listened to it. And even Paul Keels' bitch ass, who fucking sucks at his job, and it's despicable listening to him. And he is not an Ohio State fan. He shouldn't be on there because he's not an Ohio State fan. He's even becoming like uncomfortable watching Ohio State basketball. And the point I'm getting with all of this is Ross Bjork made that hire. If Ryan Day were to be fired, do we trust in Ross Bjork to make the right hire?
Yeah, so you're saying Bjork's got a little bit of a shaky history with hiring head coaches.
Yes, he
Yeah.
didn't make great hires supposedly at Ole Miss. And
Well,
the
yeah,
extension with Jimbo, but he did fire Jimbo too, or I don't really know the details with all of that.
well, I don't know. I'll say this: I believe that he is willing to take risk. If and I guess if somebody's of that nature, you have to hope that they have good intuition. Because if you're willing to take risk, you can hit big, or you can miss big. And so he clearly has missed big, in the past and at Texas A&M. So if whatever coaching vacancies he fills at Ohio State, whether it's basketball, if there's ever a football change and he's still the AD at that time, whatever vacancies he fills, yeah, there is a little bit of a question mark about Bjork, but I love his aggressiveness. I like that he has been in the SEC and he has seen how they do it down there. It just means more. That's the SEC slogan. What that really means is we're willing to bend every rule, find every loophole, do everything we possibly can do to game the system and get an advantage, because that's how badly we want to be national champions. That's what we're going against. And so if you don't understand that, then it's hard to sometimes put Ohio State in that perspective, because if we don't play by those rules, then the game becomes exponentially harder for us to be able to knock them off the perch. Because we're playing, behind the eight ball a little bit. So we have to be that much better. And it's very hard to be that much better than teams that have the composite rating of 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the country. I mean, you can't be that much better than one of those teams. Like, we are the number 3 composite rating in the country right now, Jay. It's not possible for any team out there to be that much better than us. It's not possible. I mean, I'm not saying it's not possible, but it's highly, highly improbable that you're one of the top 3 composites in the entire nation, your roster. It's pretty hard to be, way better than somebody in the top 3. And so when we play, these big games, against these other teams, we have to be playing on the same field that they are. And I think that's our concern at times with the way things can tend to be done, at Ohio State. But Bjork, I think he gets it. And so he gives me some encouragement that there's some things changing. There's a little bit of a culture shift that's shifting with this landscape of college football. So that part of the hire, I really, really like. I think we needed to move on from the Gene Smith culture that had run its course. God bless Gene. I know Jay's not a fan, but Gene, he did good in some ways. But I'm glad that we moved on. I'm glad that Bjork's here, and I'm excited to see what he can do. I'm
glad he's here too. I'm glad he's here, Michael. But the problem is he did hire Jake Diebler. Jake Diebler was the assistant on Chris Holtman's teams. I thought that was possibly a disastrous hire. They didn't go through a full coaching search. Hired a guy with no head coaching experience. Yeah, his dad was a former big-time basketball coach in the state of Ohio for high school. But at the same time, it's Ohio State. You go through a legit coaching search, and you go get a big name. Jake Diebler, he took over the team last year. They played a little better. And then at the end of the season, they kind of went back to what they were, playing terrible defense. Well, sounds like they're still playing terrible defense. But Michael, after all of that, what you just said, I have just a simple question for you.
Can you hold that question? Can I comment on that real quick, Jay?
All right.
Okay. So it's possible. I don't know. Again, I have no inside information at the Ohio State University. I don't know. But it's possible that maybe the guy they wanted just wasn't out there this time, or he wasn't available, or they just didn't feel like there was anybody out there that warranted investing a big contract into. So they, kept the guy there and said, let's see what he can do. But since they don't have a big contract in him, they're also going to have a very short leash with him. So if things don't look better this year, he's going to be gone. And then maybe this offseason, one of the targets that maybe they would really like to go after, might be available or open to talking. So just, I don't know if that's the case, but it's possible.
My question to you is, Michael, what's it going to take for Ryan Day to keep his job? In your opinion, what is it going to take for Ryan Day to still be at Ohio State next season? What does he have to do the rest of this season?
There's 12 of you guys in the watching now. I appreciate you watching since this is the first live show we've ever done. You guys put it in the chat. What you think.
Yeah, don't be afraid to communicate with us, man. We won't bite. I promise.
Yeah, put it in the chat what you think.
Won't bite hard.
What does Ryan Day have to do to to be able to keep his, what would he have to do to get fired, or what would he have to do to keep his job? However,
I want to know what he would need to do to keep his job.
Okay,
I know.
So,
I think we all know what it's going to be to fire him, but what is it going to be to
slip and skip? He said, obviously went out. LOL. I like it. I don't disagree. Now, I will say this. This is my litmus test. If you can't win the Big Ten with this roster, like that's where I'm starting. Like I start there. If you can't win the Big Ten with this roster, and you do have to beat a very good football team to win the Big Ten, you got to beat Oregon. But still, this is a roster that they've really put a lot of time and a lot of money into. This is a roster that we were sold was a super roster that was going to be amazing. It's looked good. It hasn't looked amazing thus far. We've talked about a lot of that. The defense, after attending the Marshall game live, I said, this is not an elite defense. And a lot of people got mad at me. It's a good defense. Maybe even a very good defense. Not if our corners don't start playing better. It's not going to be a very good defense. It's going to be a very mediocre defense if our corners don't start playing better. And I realize that there's not probably any teams until we get back to Oregon that are going to challenge them the same way that that Oregon did. But I mean, it's you've got to win the Big Ten with this roster. That's my opinion.
Okay, I'm going to answer that question, but I am just going to say, to add on to that, you can't really judge Ryan Day again this season until he plays in another game against a like-talented team, and they have to be in the top 5. So basically, what I'm telling everyone in this audience, Penn State doesn't count, Indiana doesn't count, Michigan doesn't count. Ohio State has to make the Big Ten championship, and then we can judge Ryan Day against a team of similar talent and high ranking, because that is where he fails the most.
Yeah.
And that's where you got to grade him the hardest.
And that's totally fair. And I don't really know how any, objectively minded person could have a problem with that. Like, is it going to be a very nice win to go into Happy Valley and get a win? Absolutely will, because that's a good Penn State team. That's one of the best Penn State teams that they have had in some years. And are they really the number 3 team in the country? I don't think so. But I mean, I really think
they are fucking not.
I legitimately think they are top 6. Top 6.
No,
top 7.
I wouldn't say that either.
Well, I think they are. So, I mean, I think they're a top 6, top 7 at the lowest team. So
you're such a Big Ten homer.
Hey, come on. I believe that. I believe they're a top 7 team. I'll just put it that way. And so, do I think they're a top 3 team? No, but they're going to be a top 3 team when he goes in there. So if Ryan Day wants to correct the top 5 problem, he's got to start there, because if he goes into Happy Valley and loses a top 5 game, boy, that's going to be a problem.
I would say their 2016 team that actually won the Big Ten, played USC in the Rose Bowl, and then the season after that in 2017 were both better teams than this. And then off the top of my head after that, when year Micah Parsons, they had a really, really, really good team.
I will say this.
2019.
Yeah, with Barkley, and was Barkley on that?
No, Barkley wasn't on that team anymore, but they just, they had Micah Parsons, and they had a couple defensive I don't know, man. For some reason, I think 2 years ago, Penn State was better than this team. 2 years ago. They actually, I don't know, the 2022 Penn State team, I know they lost their bowl game and everything, but their entire team didn't play.
No, they beat Utah, didn't they? Yeah, they beat
That was
Utah.
2020.
Yeah, it was 22. 23, they got beat by Ole Miss.
Yeah, you're right. 2022, they did beat Utah. That was
right. That was a very good Penn State team. However,
it was. I think it was 2020.
they were very hampered by their quarterback. And so I'm going to give this Penn State team the edge because really, from what I have seen out of Drew Aller this year, he is coming into his own. He's starting to look like the 5-star rating that he was out of high school from Medina, Ohio, right down the road from where I used to live up in Northeast Ohio. I lived in Middleburg Heights there on the west side of Cleveland. And so, yeah, he was right down the road. And so, last year, I didn't think he looked like a 5-star. He looked scared. He looked timid. But this year, he's starting to look like the 5-star that he was billed as, and he can sling it. And he's starting to throw it fearlessly. And when a talented quarterback starts to throw it fearlessly, that can be dangerous. So I'm not sleeping on Penn State and Drew Aller, but Ryan Day needs to win that game. Regardless of that, he needs to win that game. Aller doesn't have amazing weapons. And so, it's a game that they still need to win because they do have more talent and they need to grind them out over 4 quarters and get out of Happy Valley with a win. Jay, you're not going to hear complaints out of me if they beat them 21-20. You're not going to hear complaints out of me if they beat them 17-16. No, you're not. You're not. Because that is a hard place to go play. And you know what? The Happy Valley game in 2014, it wasn't pretty, and it wasn't against a Penn State team nearly this good, not close to this good. And they went in there and had to go to overtime, and they won. And I've got a connection with Jalen Marshall, and he told me one day, he said, that's when we won the national championship. He said, we won the national championship in Happy Valley that night. And so, and they got out barely by the skin of their teeth against a average, slightly above average Penn State team. That was one of their worst teams in recent years. But that game and that atmosphere galvanized the team. They came together, they won. And according to Jalen Marshall, that's when they won the national championship. So yeah, I'll take a 1-point win. I'll take any kind of win in Happy Valley. Just get the win, Ryan Day.
I never actually answered the question. I kind of led on to how Ryan Day is going to be judged, and I preface this the answer. But the answer for me is, believe it or not, Michael, I don't believe Ohio State has to win the national championship for Ryan to keep his job. But they need to make the national championship. They have to win the Big Ten, and then they have to win 2 playoff games because winning the Big Ten would give them a bye. Win 2 playoff games, make the national championship game. And depending, as long as they don't get totally skull drug, he'll keep his job. Not that I would agree with it, but I mean, that's what's going to keep his job.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. That would definitely keep his job. And so, I mean, of course, potentially he could lose the Big Ten championship game, win 3 playoff games, get to the national championship, and not win the 4th. But I don't think that's likely. I think Ryan Day needs to develop confidence in himself, to be honest with you. I really do.
Jason in the chat, what is he saying? Lose against Penn State or Indiana? Is he saying we're going to lose to those teams, or is he
saying he's fighting? No. I think he's saying if he loses to either of those teams, it's off with Day's head. Day's gone.
Oh, yeah.
Is that what you're saying, Jason Levins? Yeah, we agree with you 100%.
Yeah, no. If Ryan Day loses a regular season, honestly, if he loses to Oregon again, he should be fired. You lose to Oregon again,
I don't disagree.
You need to be fired.
I don't disagree. With the caveat, obviously, if he somehow, I mean, and again, the likelihood of it's almost done if you lose to Oregon, because you're still showing you can't win big games. So the likelihood of you stringing together 4 consecutive big games and winning the national championship is very low. However, it is still possible. So if Ryan Day lost to Oregon, ran the table and won 4 games and won the national championship at 15-2, fine, forgiven. No big deal. You lost to Oregon. Who cares? But I don't think that would happen.
Man, oh man. So you really have a lot of confidence against an Oregon team that have Jordan Burch back, and Ohio State would not have Josh Simmons. That's interesting.
No, I did not say I have a lot of confidence in it. I said that they should be able to get it done. It's a huge blow losing Simmons, and my goodness, that stinks. But you got to roll with it. That's football.
Michael, your volume went out.
You got to roll with it. That's football. 2024 or 2014, they lost. Let me check. Hold on. Go ahead and talk. Testing 1 2 testing.
Technical difficulties, everybody. We'll get it fixed. I want to ask the chat something while Michael's fixing this. And I was stumbling upon some message board stuff. And Michigan fans, I was actually reading your message board the other day, and I saw some comments about Ohio State's roster. And it got me thinking. And again, I've already thought this, but I want to know in the chat, is Ohio
Jay, I was told
not as talented as we think they are?
Jay, they're telling me that they can hear me. So I'm assuming that they can hear me, but it seems that you're not hearing me. So I don't know what the breakdown is there.
You know what? It was on my end.
So we're trying to get.
I'm sorry. I am so sorry. It was on my end.
Yeah.
I actually muted my other computer.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. I muted my computer over
Jay.
here to the left.
Come on, Rage. Come on, Rage.
Hey man, it is what it is. This is like our first live show in a while.
People who are listening are like, "What are you talking about? We can hear you."
My wife actually just texted me, and she was like, "Hey, I think it's on your end."
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So,
all right, Michael.
Good.
Well, let's get to the subject matter. I was saying,
yeah.
Is Ohio State not as talented as we thought they were? Because, I'm looking at the team right now. Where are the first rounders at on this roster? Seriously, where are the first rounders? Yeah. Because I'm really looking, and I'm not seeing them anywhere.
Do you know what this is? Do you know what this roster is? This is Michigan 2023's roster on a little bit of steroids. It's a more talented roster than Michigan 2023 had, for sure.
No, I don't know that it is.
Well, but it's along those lines. There's a lot of NFL players on it, but there's not many first rounders on it. Now, if this team has one first rounder, then yeah, maybe they're not actually more talented than the Michigan 2023 team. But if this team has 2, 3, 4 first rounders, then they definitely are more talented than the Michigan 2023 team because they're going to have a lot of guys go into the NFL. But I don't think they're as talented as we were anticipating because what and some of that I think is the fault of the Buckeye Beat that played this team up so monstrously big. So it was going to be hard to maybe fully deliver on the picture that they had painted. But I think when we heard that type of hype about this team, we're thinking this is a team that definitively has 4, maybe 5 first rounders, and 10, 11, 12 guys go in the draft, or at least 3 first rounders and 12, 13, 14 guys go in the draft. Is that the case? I don't know. We'll see. But it looks certainly possible based from the draft boards that I've seen that we might only have 1 first rounder or so. Donovan Jackson's on some people's board. So I don't know how that would go. Obviously Simmons was projected to be first or early second.
Not now.
Now, I wouldn't think so now, but I heard the other day that Simmons is just going to rehab, get it healthy, and just go into the NFL, that he's not planning to come back to Ohio State.
I wouldn't either if I were him.
Yeah, so he may, somebody might get a bargain on him in the 3rd round, but he may still go in the 2nd round. They're so good at repairing, those ligaments today that teams know that, as long as he's working hard, he's going to be back to basically full strength. So yeah, I mean, we'll see how many first rounders it has and how many, it has all through the draft, but I think it's a similar type roster to the roster Michigan had last year. I am going to say, Jay, I think it's on a little bit of steroids. I think it's a better roster than Michigan had last year. You might disagree with me, but I believe it's a better roster than Michigan had last year.
Yeah, I can't agree with that one, man. Can't agree with it. I think Michigan last year was a little bit more talented.
Well, certainly not on paper. I mean, we can't debate that.
I mean, not according to the 247 composite, absolutely no fucking way. But just, how many guys I thought off of that team went to the NFL. I look at this Ohio State team. The only guy I can say that jumps off right now that's going to be a first rounder in the 2025 NFL draft. And, you can't count Jeremiah Smith, Caleb Downs.
Mhm.
I would say Emeka would be a
Mhm.
late first rounder. I would say that, yeah, I would say Emeka. That's it.
Okay.
That is
Okay.
the only one I can say, like, yeah, he could be a first rounder, but he'd
Yeah.
be a late pick just because he's not a speed demon. He's
Okay.
got solid speed, but he's not,
So probably,
he's only
so prob-
6'1".
so probably top end that we're going to have first rounders is 2, and that would be if Donovan Jackson came on and somebody felt that he was worth a first round pick. I don't think Simmons is going to be a first round pick coming off of surgery. Now, I think that
He wasn't a first round pick before that either. He was going to be like, everyone was saying second round, but just because his measurables aren't there, he's only 6'5". Like 6'5" offensive tackles in the NFL, like just don't.
well,
Yeah,
this
they just- yeah.
this is my question though. So I mean, what if a team sees him as a potentially a Pro Bowl guard for the next for 5-6 years of his career? I mean, there's nothing to say you
Do
can't
you
move him to
draft
guard.
guards in the first round in the NFL though? You draft
Yes,
tackles.
no. You do draft guards at times if you feel like that.
Yeah, if you're
guard
the
is-
Tennessee Titans and you know how
Well,
bad that franchise is.
Yeah, I mean the Bengals drafted a guard in the first round. So I mean, there are teams that do it at times if you really have that need and if you feel like that player can meet that need. So I mean, it's possible if he would have come back and really shown something, but it's definitely not going to happen now. There's no chance of that. So 2 first rounders is the most optimistic outlook for this team. So yeah, it's not a super team. It's not a 4 or 5 first rounder team. It's not.
It's not 2015 Ohio State.
Yeah,
It's not 2005 Ohio State. It's
right,
not
right.
2002 or 2003 Ohio State. Like those teams were all more talented than this team. I just, you look across the board.
2019 was quite a year too. There was a lot of guys that went to the NFL in the 2019 draft. Chase
in the first round, we had Chase Young, Okuda.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Who else went in the first round off of that team that year?
Let me see. I feel like there was definitely another.
It would be the 2020 NFL draft.
Okay, I'm thinking 2019. Okay, so let me look at 2019. 2020 was good too, but 2019 is the one that I'm thinking of. It was the first one after Ryan Day was hired.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was the year that Ohio State choked against Clemson.
Correct.
Yeah. I know it was Chase Young and, Okuda. I think, you know what? It was Damon Arnett. We had 3. Damon Arnett,
Okay.
Okuda, and Chase Young. They all went in the first round.
All right. I don't have to look it up now. You got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was 3 off of that team. So yeah. So I mean, we're not going to match that. We're not going to match that team's NFL talent wise. So yeah, I think as we've kind of diagnosed that, this team was not quite as talented as we thought. They're very good. And Urban Meyer, who chooses his words very selectively when it comes to the Ohio State program and Ryan Day, he had previously said in the offseason that this was one of the greatest rosters in the history of college football. After the Oregon game, he said, this is still one of the top few rosters in the country.
Urban Meyer is a dumb homer now. I don't listen to anything he says outside of when he's being talking about teams that's not Ohio State.
I understand that 100%, and I don't disagree with that as much as I love Urban. He is an Ohio State homer, but he will let things out if you listen, whether he knows he's doing it or whether it just kind of comes out because that's just how he is. He can't stand for it not to. I mean, he did really revise his statement from this being one of the most talented rosters in the history of college football to this being one of the top few talented rosters in the country this year. And that's a pretty big downward revision. So, when a legendary coach who did win 3 national championships and absolutely knows what national championship talent looks like, absolutely knows what rosters look like that send several first round picks and lots of guys into the draft that year. He's kind of downgraded his view of it. That being said, that's the negative side. I don't think it's as talented as we kind of thought or hoped that it would be. It still is. I do agree with Urban, one of the best few rosters in the country. And, I do think if I take out my my Ryan Day big game bias, and I think that bias is legitimate. I mean, 2-7 is, how Ohio State fans are getting beat up pretty bad in these big games, and that's exactly, in my opinion, what I think at least you and I, Jay, that's kind of what we fear most as an Ohio State fan, is constantly getting beat in the biggest games with the most eyeballs. We want to be winning.
It's already here, Michael. I don't fear it anymore. I accept it. I just expect it at this point, especially after last week. I'm just been defeated in the mind. It's just been a total catastrophe, man. I mean, like, I don't know what else to say. It's just like, it's been very depressing. It's been a very depressing time. And my expectations are super high. I don't give a fuck. I expect a lot out of this program. And if, most people are content with, what Ohio State is. And Michael, that, I really wanted to jump into this topic because I want to credit somebody.
Jay, you've got to have a little optimism now. Like, I know that, I'm not a
optimism for what?
Well, look, what's the point? Like, I don't have great confidence that Day is going to get it done this year and win a national championship. I think it's possible. I absolutely think it's possible. But on the flip side, I look at the 2-7 and I go, well, that's my data points. Like, and so that, unless there's a drastic turnaround, and I think to do that, I think he's got to figure some things out. First off, he's got to figure out this freaking defense. He brings in a Jim Knowles, who's a super aggressive coordinator. That's what he's known as. He's known for dialing up odd fronts and pressure from different angles and different places, and disguising it. And he gets here and does that with a defense that wasn't very talented in 2022, and it's a disaster. Well, I mean, I don't know. I can't even 100% say at this point. Jim Knowles is an enigma. I mean, he's an enigma to me. I know you think he sucks, and you're totally convinced of that. And I'm not saying you might be right. I don't know. I'm just saying I'm not there yet. He's kind of an enigma to me, because after 2022, Day basically tells them, like, you have to run a conservative defense. That's what's being reported by the Buckeye Beat. Okay, so I mean, if you argue with that or you don't think that's the case, that's fine. But that's what the Buckeye Beat's putting out. So I guess it's true.
I just want to say one thing about Jim Knowles. We're looking too much about like his time at Ohio State, but you got to look closer at his time at Oklahoma State. And his time at Oklahoma State, when he played good offenses, his defenses got lit the fuck up. Just even go back and look at the 2021 Oklahoma State Cowboys. Look when they played Oklahoma. Go look when they played Notre Dame. They got lit up bad.
But that was always the theory, Rage. The theory was, and it was an unproven theory, and that's why I didn't love the Jim Knowles hire when they did it, because it was an unproven theory. But the theory of Jim Knowles' hire was he improved the untalented defenses that he went to. So he improved Duke's defense. Obviously, they're not very talented. He improved Oklahoma State's defense. Obviously, they're not very talented. They got scorched against good offenses for the most part, but they just weren't a very talented group. They didn't have high-level defensive talent. They had a lot of 3 stars, some 4 stars. And so the theory was, if he implements his scheme, with Ohio State's talent, then it's going to work really well. And so it didn't work well in 2022. But again, I don't think, because he had never coached super high level talent, I'm not convinced that Jim Knowles understood that he didn't have a super talented defense in 2022, because to his standards, the defenses that he had typically ran, I think that defense probably looked pretty darn talented. But it was not talented for the level of football that we were going to be playing in Michigan and Georgia. and it got scorched in those games. And then, they're saying Ryan Day said back off. So last year you see a very vanilla, very boring defense that never got turnovers.
I don't know. I agree here, Michael.
Well,
the only game that I saw Ohio State be ultra aggressive in 2022 at times was when they played Maryland and then the Michigan game. Outside of that, they're pretty vanilla that season as well. They're pretty vanilla all season.
I can't really speak to that in an educated manner because I'd have to go back and look at some of those games. And I don't know if I'm ever have time to go back and rewatch 2022 games. But all I know is that I feel like kind of like intuitively from watching that there was a definitive change in the 2023 defense, much more bend but don't break, much more keep it in front of you, much more Iowa-like, make them grind out every first down, make them grind all the way down the field, don't make anything easy. That kind of is where they shifted to. And, because I remember, in the Michigan game, he's running cover 0. That's ultra aggressive, like ultra aggressive. And he got burnt badly running that cover 0. But, that's ultra aggressive. And then he was being relatively aggressive in the Georgia game. That's why he had Lathan Ransom on an island in coverage one-on-one. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look. I don't know if they were cover 1 or cover 0 right there. But I think they were cover 1. And, so he was out on an island and they got burnt big again. So, they definitely didn't do that type of thing in 2023. It ended up, it didn't work ultimately better. It did keep the offenses at bay, but they weren't able to get enough offense themselves to win.
I don't know where Michael went.
Okay. Looks like we're back. I don't know how long we were gone there, but Jay, we better wrap this up before long because I don't know how long this internet bandwidth is going to hold here tonight.
Yeah, I see that, man. I see that. You need to connect back to your neighbors, man. You need to connect back to your neighbors.
Well, I am on my neighbors, but they're both way too slow tonight.
Yeah.
So
one subject matter I want to get into there is, the thing on Bucknuts, man. So this guy on Bucknuts was saying the other day that his name is Big Buoy. Essentially what he said is, in conclusion, Ohio State, the last 20 years in our football existence, Ohio State is really the dividing line between good and great. The Buckeyes are essentially the measuring stick. You're not good until you're better than Ohio State. The teams above Ohio State change. It was USC for a while. Then it was Clemson, Alabama, teams like that. So basically Ohio State's stuck in a perpetual purgatory of right in between good and elite, I would say. We're always the measuring stick, but we are not we are rarely the team that's ascending. It's we're the ultimate measuring stick. It looks like we were the measuring stick for Oregon this year. The last couple of years, last year, we were the measuring stick for Michigan. And then 2 years ago, we were the measuring stick for Georgia. It's Ohio State is always we've been competitive against all these teams, but we're not winning against these teams. So why can't we ascend? It's this is so fucking frustrating, man. And it's depressing. It's to be right there and come so close. I want to be the team that's ascending here. I don't want to be the measuring stick anymore because the measuring stick program is just an awful place to be in sports.
I don't enjoy that level of winning. I really don't. If people do, that's fine. I mean, I don't like, that's fine. Like if you enjoy, if that level of winning is enjoyable to you, then totally fine. Like, we can be friends. But it's not super enjoyable to me because we're not winning anything. We're not winning the Big Ten title. We're not winning the rivalry game. We're not winning playoff games. We're not beating SEC teams. We're not beating anybody that is of the significance. I mean, yeah, the program's getting a lot of empty wins in what was a weak Big Ten. And I know I'm more bullish on the Big Ten than you are, Jay, but I believe the Big Ten is a rising force to be reckoned with. I do believe the Big Ten is rising and ascending. I just don't know. I just hope that Ohio State is ascending as well, because it's not going to get easier for Ryan Day. So this big game thing is going to solve itself sooner or later, because in today's college football landscape, you have an opportunity to play a lot more big games than you ever did in years past, between the expanded conferences, between the expanded playoffs. And so, I mean, we're going to find out. We're going to find out what Ryan Day's made of and if he's capable of doing it. And I hope he is. I hope he is, because I would love nothing more than for Ryan Day to lead this team to a national championship. I would love nothing more. And if Ryan Day didn't do anything else for Ohio State after that, if he kind of sucked and teetered off and was gone in 3 years, I would still love Ryan Day for bringing the national championship. So I hope he can. I hope he can. I'm just, I still have my doubts, but I'm trying to stay optimistic about it. And, think that maybe he'll get it figured out. Chip Kelly gives me some confidence. Chip Kelly gave me confidence that I've never had before. And I'm not saying I fully trust in Chip, because Chip never got it done either. But that Oregon team that Chip took to the national championship and went blow for blow with Auburn with was not an ultra talented football team. So the fact that Chip did that is impressive to me. And I'm hoping that he has some magic in his hat with this team that will be of very similar, if not equal, talent to anybody they played this year.
Michael, I see a couple things in the chat. Wish we could talk about the NFL more. Yeah, this is an NFL podcast. We have talked about the NFL a little bit. Michael's talked about the Bengals. I've talked about the Titans. Those are our teams. Surprised James Laurinaitis linebackers aren't playing better. Do you think that's on him? Or
we're with you on that. I don't know if it's him or the scheme.
No, it's definitely the scheme, because I'll tell you, the scheme is so fucking passive. The linebackers aren't playing downhill, and because they're playing downhill and they're so passive, they are being met at the point of attack rather than meeting the linebacker. Oh God, the Steelers, man.
Jay hates the Steelers.
Man.
Jay hates.
Yeah, well, I mean, so do you.
Now. Well, yeah, I do, but I respect the Steelers. Like if the Steelers win a Super Bowl, it doesn't kill me, because I respect.
Oh fuck, it does me. Fuck
well,
that.
It doesn't me, because they're a gritty, hard-nosed, tough as hell franchise, and I respect that. And so
they have good owners. Their owners are what did it for them. I want to mention back to the Oregon game, Michael. People, it's really fucking sad. People are speaking too much about the rule change in season with the clock. With the Dan Lanning thing, keeping like 12 men on the field. And It's really, really sad that some Ohio State fans are pointing to that why we lost. Yeah. Rather than the other 20 reasons there are in that game, but they point to that little bit like, oh, we got screwed, and oh, here's our excuse, and it gives the homers a reason oh, we got screwed again, kind of like 2019 Clemson with the fumble that should have been a touchdown, rather than looking at the 15 other things that Ryan Day really fucked up in that game. And it's just, it is so fucking sad. It is so fucking sad.
Well,
that is a thing.
I agree with that. And I think that would be, I know we're on the dichotomy in the Ohio State fan base that I presented at the beginning of this episode, the one side and the other side. I know we're on the other side, and maybe you're farther than I am, because I still have.
Yeah, you're an optimist, Michael. You're the eternal optimist on this show.
Well, I just mean like I'm not sold on Ryan Day, but I still have optimism and hope that something can get figured out. I know that you're kind of farther away from me, that you don't have any optimism or hope, but we're on the same side of the kind of this divide of the fan base. But I don't really, I don't really know how anybody could, argue with some of the things you're saying. I mean, regardless of, and this is one of them. Like, we need to stop, like, making all of these excuses every time Ryan Day loses a big game. Okay. Like, if it happens once or twice, even 3 times, but when these same things are happening like 7 times, 7 out of 9, it's not just like the referees are against Ohio State. It's not just we don't ever get the big call. It's that we're playing on the margin and we're just not there. And so if anything goes against us, it kind of takes our chances. Things have to go perfect for us because I think just the way he coaches in these big games, he coaches very not to lose. There's never, other than 2020 Clemson, there's never been anything like we're going to go out and we're going to be the aggressor and we're going to be the attacker and we're going to win this game. Georgia, yeah, he came out aggressive. I'll give him that. But, again, it's all these other little things that happen every time. So they don't just keep happening all of these times for no reason. There's reasons behind it. I think, we've talked about it. I think there's preparation reasons. I think there's ideology reasons. I think that Ryan Day is very much where Jim Harbaugh was. People make a Ryan Day, Kirby Smart comparison. Stop that. That's not a comparison. Like, can we stop with that? Kirby Smart didn't take over a national championship caliber roster. Kirby Smart took over a team that had lost 14, 15 games the previous 3 or 4 years and was not recruiting in the top 5 in the country. They were recruiting from about 8 to 12. They were recruiting very good. He had good talent, but he did not have elite talent, elite top end. They had very good talent. And so that's what he started with. And he had to overcome Nick Saban. So that's not the comparison. The comparison for Ryan Day is Jim Harbaugh, because Jim Harbaugh was very much stuck in this spot for several years. He seemed very idealistic in his game plans. He seemed like, he wanted to win a particular kind of way. And if he couldn't win that particular kind of way, like, they weren't going to win, but that was how he was going to play the game. And it kept coming up short in these big games. And then Harbaugh, brought in an incredible staff. That defense was aggressive. I wish the Ohio State 2024 defense could look like the Michigan 2023 defense. I know it makes us gag to say it. Okay. But it was a extremely good defense. It was fast. It was physical. They brought pressure. They disguised blitzes. They bring guys out of the secondary. They disrupted Milroe. They did exactly what you have to do to beat Milroe. You have to disrupt him and get in his face, just like Tennessee did. And Michigan's defense did that brilliantly. Our defense wouldn't do that right now. Jalen Milroe would have a much better chance because he could sit back and throw that deep ball, which is the only thing he does well. If you get in his face and force him to make quick decisions and hit his underneath and his medium routes, he's not a good passer. He's a terrible passer. He's easy to beat. And that's what Michigan was able to do. And so I wish our defense was like that. But they haven't. Supposedly, the word coming out, I don't know if there's any truth to it, Jay, is that there was a come to Jesus meeting among the coaches, and that Jim Knowles got his way to begin to dial up some pressure and some things that he's been wanting to do. Now, is that total BS? It could be. We'll find out.
Yeah, along those lines, looks like we got a little bit in the chat. Charles, thank you for joining us. Faith Ryan Day can beat 2 to 3 top 5 teams this season. Absolutely fucking not. I do not have any faith in that.
I don't have tremendous faith, but I think it's possible. I think it's possible.
Okay.
This is a
Slippin'
very
Skippy
good team.
says he respects the Bengals and Titans. Well, that makes one of us. I don't respect the Titans. That's for sure.
Well, I appreciate Skippy. Skippy, Jay's in a bad football way right now. He's down on the Buckeyes. He's lost hope in the entire program.
I don't even
And
watch the Titans, by the way.
and
Let me just point it out. Like,
and
I disowned them a couple years ago. I knew they needed to fire Vrabel, but then they hired Ron Carthon as the damn GM. He's no track record. He's an idiot, and he's like destroyed that franchise. And I don't want to get into the Titans.
I can relate to that, but don't give up on him because it'll come back. I did the same thing.
And he says, we got to hire an SEC mind. I wonder if he means a defensive coordinator. Well, if he means a defensive coordinator, I've said DJ Durkin, but the problem is it's too late for Ryan Day. Ryan Day's out of time. He's not going to be able to make another defensive hire. If he fails, he's done. There is no like, oh, well, he gets another chance if he gets another defensive coordinator. No. He hired Kerry Coombs and he also hired Jim Knowles. Yeah. Okay. Yes. No. It's too late. I said they needed to hire DJ Durkin a couple years ago, and it didn't.
Okay, happen. But here's the thing, Jay. Let's say your scenario plays out of what Ryan Day has to do to keep his job, and he wins the Big Ten title, wins 2 playoff games, and loses in the national championship. Or I'll even throw out there, loses the Big Ten title and wins 3 straight playoff games and loses in the national championship. Either of those scenarios, I think he keeps his job.
Whoa. You think that if he loses to Oregon again, he's keeping his job?
If he won 3 playoff games, I think he would have a chance.
No, I don't think so. I think he needs to go.
All right. Well, maybe not. But regardless, if he doesn't, if he does not keep his job, or if he keeps his job. So let's just say for your argument's sake, he beats Oregon, wins 2 more playoff games, and loses in the national championship game to whoever, you name the team. He keeps his job and he says, you know what? As good as this season was, it wasn't good enough. I'm firing Jim Knowles. I'm bringing in DJ Durkin. I mean, at that point, he's keeping his job anyway. So it might as well, I would be in all favor of, if he's going to be here another year anyway, give it another shot. Try something new. This clearly hasn't worked. I mean, I've always said, when you're hiring a defensive coordinator at Ohio State, you hire a guy, who's been, successful in the Big Ten, in the SEC, or a guy who's been successful in the Big Ten and the SEC. Those are the guys you hire to be defensive coordinators, the guys who have proven it. An offensive coordinator, I think, especially if it's an offensive-minded head coach, that can be a different scenario. Urban, he was good at finding offensive coordinators. He had a knack for it. He found Tom Herman, who was a diamond in the rough, plucked him from Iowa State. He found Ryan Day from virtual obscurity. And Ryan Day was a very good offensive coordinator. He hasn't proved at this point to be as good of a head coach as he was an offensive coordinator, but he's a very good offensive coordinator. So Urban had a knack for doing that. But with defensive coordinators, I feel like you need to go out and get a guy who's proven it at a very high level.
Yeah, no, you're right, man. Well, we'll see. I mean, they're really, we've already said what he needs to do to keep his job and everything. But along the defense, I know what you just said, a coming to Jesus thing. I've heard rumors about a disconnect between Larry Johnson and Jim Knowles.
Yeah.
They're looking in the wrong direction here. Who fucking hired these guys?
Mm-hmm.
It's Ryan Day.
No, it's a little bit of a smokescreen. I mean, I'm not saying it's not happening. It may be happening. Maybe there is. I mean, I think it probably is happening. I mean, you just
let's just say it is happening. Yeah, it's on Ryan Day's bitch ass to police these guys. You're telling me that this fucking guy who makes however much $5 million a year, I don't actually know. Is it 7? How much money does he make? $7 million?
Day makes 10.
Does he? Okay, yeah, $10 million a year. You're paid $10 million a year. If you're paid $10 million a year, you pretty much got to be really fucking elite at everything, in my opinion. You got to be a great decision maker, a great recruiter, a great coach, everything all along the lines. Great at hiring assistants, great at policing assistants. It's time. Actually, it's not time. It's been time. Motherfucker, get your fucking coaching staff straight. Stop being a little bitch. If it's on Knowles, get on Knowles. If it's on Larry Johnson, get on Larry Johnson. But you know what? I'm pointing at you. I'm not blaming either one of them. I'm pointing at you, you stupid motherfucker. Your defense has blown cock. the last couple years and really
Jay.
cost us in the biggest games. Like,
Jay.
what the fuck are we doing?
Look, I get it. I get it. I mean, it's on him, no doubt. So it's a smokescreen. Like you want to put it, you want to put it, put this smokescreen. Well, the problem is Knowles and Johnson don't get along. Okay, that may be true. I actually think it is true because the defense it looks kind of dysfunctional and disjointed right now. So it looks like there's a disconnect. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just kind of inferring that based on the information I've been given. But at any rate, I think it's probably true. But it is Ryan Day's responsibility. He's the one that brought in the defensive coordinator. He's the one that, essentially signs Larry Johnson's paycheck or decides whether Larry Johnson gets a paycheck from the Ohio State University. He's got to take charge, and that's been one of my issues with Day. Is he's not struck me as a take charge kind of guy, and it shows up in these kind of situations. And I think it's shown up in big games. Just kind of that permeating through the program. So yeah, he has to get this fixed. Like he's got to step in no matter how uncomfortable, whether he's got to put Larry Johnson in his place. Seriously. I love Larry. I thought it was a great hire when they hired him way back in 2015. I loved the hire then. He's done a lot of good things. I think that if you really look at the data, Larry's been a little bit past his prime for a few years now. So I do think it's time for Larry to move on, but he hasn't moved on. He's here for this national championship season. And I get, what we feel like is the best chance for a national championship in the Ryan Day era. He's here. So that's the facts of the matter. Whether he retires at the end of the year or not, he's here this year. And so, yeah, whether he's got to sit him down and say, look, you've got to get it together. Because Ryan Day's job is on the line. Larry Johnson's at the end of his career. Larry Johnson is close to riding off into the sunset. Ryan Day is still a young man in coaching years. And so he's got to take control of this situation. And if we're to believe that this is what's taking place, which is what the entire Buckeye Beat is reporting, literally all of them, all of the mainstream Ohio State podcasts are reporting this. So if we are to believe that, then we also have to believe that Ryan Day has got to get this figured out because it's on him.
Yes. No, I couldn't agree more. Really not much left to be said there. It's on Ryan Day to fix whatever problems there are. I'm sick of blaming the assistants because actually I've never really blamed the assistants. I've usually always blamed him. Maybe I blame Kerry Coombs back in the day some because, actually, you know what? I shouldn't have blamed Kerry Coombs. Ryan Day should have known better. I fucking knew better. I'm like, why are you hiring Kerry Coombs?
Yes.
Who is a corner coach? That doesn't mean he can call defense. So you know what? I do blame you, Ryan Day.
100%. 100%.
Anywho, a little bit of news. Michael, I swear we're just talking about the defense, and that's all there is to talk about. But apparently Lathan Ransom got hurt. I know I told you that earlier today. I don't know if you've been able to hear any confirmation on that.
I have not heard confirmation of it. Again, like when I'm talking about things, I'm talking about, what do I think could be the best for the team? I'm not saying anything negative about Lathan. He's a good Buckeye. He's played in a lot of games. He's got a lot of experience. Appreciate everything he's done. Kid's put his body on the line, but he's not done a great job when we've needed him. So if he's out, I think it at least presents an opportunity for some of the guys on the bench to get a shot. And with the corner play that we had against Oregon, I'm going to be really disappointed if I don't see Jermaine Matthews on the field getting some serious time in some of these games to come. I think Nebraska would be a great opportunity to do that. If Indiana can beat Nebraska 56-7, I think we should be able to go out and get a guy as talented as Matthews, who has looked like the best corner on the team. Give him some time and see if maybe he does have a place in there, and maybe they need to put a young guy in there, just like in 2014, not exactly the same, but they put Raekwon McMillan in. He didn't play full time. I think it was Curtis Grant. Was that the other middle linebacker that year, Rage?
Which year are you referring to exactly?
2014.
Yeah, Curtis Grant, Darren Lee.
and Raekwon
and
McMillan
Josh Perry.
and Josh Perry. And then Raekwon McMillan came in for Grant, and they split it about 50-50 for a lot of the year.
No, I don't think they split. I mean, Raekwon played, but they weren't splitting time.
Well, yeah, they were. I mean, Raekwon was playing consistently 30-40% of the snaps. I mean, so he was getting in there. He played against Alabama. I mean, he was in there a decent amount of the time against Alabama.
I'd have to go back and look.
Yeah,
I don't remember him playing a lot in that game. I mean,
yeah,
I don't doubt that he played, but a lot.
But anyhow, sometimes getting these young guys in can pay dividends because maybe, McMillan wasn't quite as good on some things as Grant, but he could do some things that Grant couldn't do. So having him in there was a benefit. And I honestly think that Matthews, you could put him out there, and maybe he proved me wrong. Maybe, a lot of people will say, well, what do you know? The coaches see it every day. Yeah, I know, I get it. But I also played sports in college, and I coaches are humans. They're not immune from kind of developing, loyalties and favorites and just kind of a wait your turn type of deal. And Jim Knowles is known for being exceptionally loyal to upperclassmen. So I don't think we can say that, just because Jim Knowles hasn't put him out there, that doesn't mean that he very well may not be the best corner on the team. I think it's entirely possible because I think he has first round talent. I don't think any other corner we have out there does.
No, I don't know that any of them have first round talent. And again, we just haven't seen enough of Matthews. And the little bit we've seen, he's flashed, but I would like to see more. I will say that Lathan Ransom being out is I don't think he's going to be missed at all. He's just not what you would want as an Ohio State level safety. He's only 6 feet tall. He looks like he runs a 4.6. He's not ultra. I mean, he's kind of physical, but for him to only be 6 feet and 205, it's just not great size for a safety to be ultra physical. I don't know. Mike Doss, for instance, the best tackling safety I've ever seen at Ohio State, but he was just a stockier build than Lathan. But I can say that if, we're looking at what, the personnel, that I would have wanted on the defense, especially in the secondary, because now if I'm Ohio State, I'm putting Jordan Hancock in Lathan's spot. And honestly, I'm probably moving Burke inside because he doesn't have the speed to play outside. Maybe put him in the slot.
He does not.
Yeah, I would put Matthews on the outside and put, against the faster receivers. I would put him against the X's. Put him against the X receiver and be like, let's see what you got. Because, we know Igbinosun is not a guy that can go against an X. He's more a Z or the Y, type dude. But Jermaine Matthews, he doesn't have elite size, but he's not small. He's 5'11", but I do believe he's got physicality. He's got great speed. And I put him out there. I put Burke in the slot or somebody else, Lorenzo Styles Jr. Denzel Burke should not be playing. And, we'll see what we got there, man. Now we have a little bit more coverage on the field because, Lathan Ransom, he couldn't cover. He really couldn't.
Yeah, no, I agree. So nothing really else to add to that. I'm with you. I think that it's a time potentially for improvement. And so that's another point of optimism for me, Rage, is, I think that maybe if we tweak the approach a bit, get a little more aggressive and maybe get a little more speed out on the field, I think we might have some better results. And I can tell you, Jermaine Matthews is fast. I've seen the kid live in high school. I know fast players. I know really fast players. I know what that looks like. He's a really fast kid. And so we could certainly use that kind of speed out there on the corner. Denzel Burke showed that he just doesn't have that elite level speed out wide.
And he does not physical either, man. I mean, there's one thing if you're not fast, but he's not fucking physical, man. He's just kind of soft. The tackle against the Oregon receiver, Evan Stewart's not even very big, but Denzel Burke is playing patty cake with him, on the sideline. Dude, fucking just truck him out of bounds. Okay, he made the catch. Truck him the fuck out of bounds or go at his legs, something. Don't fucking play with his hands and try and strip the ball and all that bullshit because most likely you're not going to. You go and strip. You're taught as a defender to not fucking strip the ball on your own in the open field. You're
Mhm.
taught to make the fucking tackle. And then if you stood up, the second guy comes in and strips the ball. That's what
Right.
like fundamental 101 is with
Sure.
football. If you're in the open field, you get that guy on the fucking ground. The people
100%.
that come
Yeah.
in after that then go for the football.
Yeah, again, that's another thing that's coming out that's being leaked. That's kind of been discussed is the fact that Ohio State does not practice tackling at all. That Jim Knowles' philosophy is that you do not practice at all. Now, I know that the 2014 team.
Do you believe that?
Do I believe? Well, I mean, do I believe that that's true?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I do.
Oh, well, okay.
I do. I'm pretty sure he said as much. He said that they do, I think a thud or something like that is what they do. They do not.
Well, a lot of college teams did that. We did that in college too. We didn't
I
tackle during the week. We thudded.
I get it. So that's why I'm saying just because that information is coming out, that
I'd have to remember. That was so long ago, Michael.
that doesn't mean a whole lot, because a lot of colleges do that today. Now they compare that to the 2014 team where Chris Ash had them practicing full tackling, to the ground tackling, a few days before they played Alabama. So that's what the beat writers are comparing it to. But yeah, it is my understanding that Jim Knowles' approach on that is not necessarily unusual. That there's a lot of schools out there that do that.
Yeah, I don't really know that that's really a problem. I don't know. I think the scheme sucks. Denzel Burke is definitely soft, but I don't think the defense as a whole is soft. I just think they're not really done any favors, and left, the personnel isn't always right and they're not aggressive enough. But looking at the chat here, man, did you guys hear that Ryan Day called Chip Kelly to call? Oh, that's not surprising. I mean, him and Chip obviously have a history.
What was it?
And then Slip and Skippy said that we need to start Julian Sayin instead of Devin Brown next year. I agree. Devin Brown's not an Ohio State level quarterback. Devin Brown needs to go transfer to like a lower level Big Ten team. He is not an Ohio State level quarterback.
Yeah, Slip and Skippy. I couldn't be more emphatically and enthusiastically in agreement with that. It's time to move on from Devin Brown. We don't need this guy getting reps. This guy cannot win a national championship. It's definitive. We know that. It cannot happen. We cannot win a national championship with Devin Brown at quarterback.
No, we can't.
We don't know what we could do with Julian Sayin, but the ceiling and the potential is way higher. And God forbid if something happened to Will Howard, we've once again not really gotten Julian Sayin prepared at all. He should have. I feel like he should have been getting him prepared because he's the future. Devin Brown's not the future. He's not,
I see Slip and Skippy as a Steelers fan. I wonder if it would be, I was about to knock Sayin size because he's only like 5'11", but Russell Wilson's 5'11", and I guess he did well last night in Sunday Night Football. So I don't know. Quarterbacks can work, but
they list him at 6 foot, Jay.
He's not 6 feet tall.
You don't think so?
I don't usually look at. And again, obviously you subtract heights from other people too, but I would not say he's 6 feet tall. He's probably like 5'10", 5'11".
Actually,
chat.
He's listed at 6'1", Jay.
Yeah, that's really inaccurate. Like, who are you trying? Looks like Ohio State looks like to embellish. They don't embellish. Actually, it looks like they embellish the heights and their freaking speed in their 40s. So I don't know. Michael, I don't really have much left in this episode, man. I did have one more thing, man. Do you realize how many times I've been like personally attacked again on like message boards and on fucking like social media for my viewpoints on Ohio State?
I'm sure I know because I've experienced it to degrees myself, and I'm like I said, a little more moderate take than you. So, and I get a whole lot of pushback on Buckeye Board. So I imagine you've been excoriated.
Oh my God, man. It's just like anything you could think of, they just say it about you. And I'm like,
yeah,
just because I said that X, Y, and Z sucks, that you're going to take it that personally.
Sure.
Like, I think a lot of, yeah.
That's the Buckeye board for you. I mean, we've always been it's not for the faint of heart. Like if you're gonna march to your own beat on the
This
Buckeye
is so.
message
I mean, I'll
boards.
say this on like Facebook and
Yeah.
stuff. I'll make comments on like 11 Warriors or something every now and
Mhm.
then, and it's like the same dudes come in there and bash me, and I'm like, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking like these motherfuckers would never say this to me in person. And the few times people have like stood up and challenged me in person, Michael, at like in public sporting events, right
Yeah.
when I step up to them, they back the fuck off. They don't do anything.
Well, yeah, Jay, of course these are not super tough guys like typing all of this like stuff, aggressive stuff behind the keyboard. But I don't know if you've noticed, but what I've started doing with them a lot is of course I'll argue my points, but like, when they start the personal insults, like I'll just basically respond to them and say, you're a completely silly person. Like I'm not even going to take you seriously. Like if you're not going to debate the issue anymore and you're just going to literally slew a bunch of personal attacks, like you're a silly person. And I don't have time to bother myself with that.
Yeah, I try not to too, man. But I've just somebody wants to come at me, I just come at them now. I
I
don't
know,
care.
I get it. I've got that impulse too. I'm not
Yeah.
saying, yeah, I get it 100%.
Ohio State and Michigan fans are toxic slipping. Yeah, I mean, probably most fan bases. I will say Ohio State fans, like in all honesty, man, I think we're like the worst fans in the country collectively. I'm not
Yeah.
kidding. I
Well,
would
I
say
mean,
LSU is there.
yeah, you
West
love,
Virginia is there.
yeah.
Ohio State is there.
Yeah, I mean, our fan base is wild, but it's passionate, and so that's why we're wild. And so, like the two go hand in hand. Like if you're gonna have a passionate fan base, you're gonna have a wild fan base that's gonna kind of go off the rails sometimes. That's just the way it is. So you got to take a good with the bad. It's like you're asking a free agent, like, do you want to play in New York? Do you want to play in New York and all that entails, or would you rather go play in Texas or something? Some guys love it, some guys don't. But if you come to the Ohio State, that's what you're getting, and you got to be willing to take it. And yeah, we should like the fans that insult the kids and like just completely go at them and like try and tear them down on their social medias. Like obviously that's insane. Like that's going too far. So I wish we didn't have any that did that, but it's not like we're the only fan base that has people that do that. I mean, Alabama fan base is every bit as wild, if not more wild. And that kind of leads me to a offhanded thought of I'm sick of Herb Street throwing Buckeye fans under the bus. Like I cannot stand that guy. I know like he's ingratiated himself back to the hearts of some Buckeye fans, not me. He throws our fan base under the bus anytime he can. Why is he not talking about Alabama's fan base? They want Kalen DeBoer fired. They want him gone now. Like that's how insane.
I wouldn't be listening to Kirk Herbstreit about too many things anymore. I think he knows football some, but the guy is just unhinged.
Yeah, he really
He is a weird dude, man. He brings his dog with him on road trips now. He's cried during Black Lives Matter on live TV. I would not be listening to him about things like outside of strictly football. Just when it comes to like the pulse of anything,
yeah,
I would not listen to that guy. That guy has no fucking clue.
Not
Anything
at all.
outside of like his telecasts on TV. None at all.
I know that. You know that. My point is a lot of people listening out there don't know that. So he still carries weight with them, and he just trashes the Ohio State fan base while giving all of these other fan bases a total pass. Like I'm sick of it. Like shut up about the Ohio State fan base. Like just don't talk about it.
I will say this. Yeah, I mean, he's definitely trying to even things up, but he is an Ohio State. I do know for a fact he is an Ohio State fan, like still a diehard Ohio State fan. You can hear it in his voice at times when he's called some of our games that he's still an Ohio State fan. So,
well, I mean, I don't doubt that, and I'm not going to question that, but it definitely he would much rather kind of dump on Ohio State and just be pleasantly surprised if they break through, as opposed to ever like display any type of confidence or real positivity towards. I mean, he'll display some positivity towards the teams, but like towards the fan base, no. Everything he says is utterly negative.
Man, okay. Well, I believe you, man. I haven't listened to Herbstreit as much lately because I don't really find him all that profound to listen to. He doesn't say anything that moves the meter for me. I mean, I think he's great on college football TV. The games he does Saturday night, I love his breakdowns and everything. But outside of that, I don't really pay any attention to him. But Michael, I don't really have anything else in this episode. Chat, do you guys have anything else left for us? Any quick questions? Do you like this live show? I would like to, like the people that actually held on for the hour and 20 minutes of this show, throw it in the comments if you like this live show. Throw it in the comments if you watch this show on replay later on. I know our morning audience is going to listen to this show probably in the morning. But I'm just really curious if people like us going live or they just like to, stream us at the time. So obviously it's a little bit more interactive and we thank you all for being here. Chat, do you have anything else for us? I'll give it like a couple seconds unless you have anything to say, Michael.
No, all I was saying was I loved having the live stream, even though we've never done it. Like, I would have been happy to have 5 people on since we've never done it, but we've had, 8, 10, 12, 14 most of the time. I think we at one point had 17 on. So yeah, I thought it was fantastic. Enjoyed the comments and those interacting. Love to get more people watching. Maybe we'll make the live streams a regular thing. We could get more people interacting about Ohio State football. This is a great forum. It's a great place to vent. It's a great place to debate. So we welcome you, Buckeye fans. Come in and let's talk Ohio State football.
Yeah, man, it does seem like we're starting to move the meter a little bit. We're starting to give people another source of information regarding Ohio State because, people are being fed bullshit by the Ohio State beat and media. And yeah, there are some people out there trying to be a little edgy and stuff, but they still are pulling their punches, and there are no punches pulled here. Yeah. As you can tell.
And some of them, I don't fault them for that. I understand they have to pull their punches. And I'm not going to say the names, but there's a couple at a very mainstream Ohio State podcast that I have respect for the stances that they've taken, because on the platform that they have, it's a very, it's a difficult stance. It's not the popular view. They even get criticized about the stance, like on air. Like one of the hosts even criticizes them anytime they tell the truth about things, and calls them like overly negative and all this kind of stuff when they're just pointing out reality. So I give those guys a lot of credit. But yeah, there's a lot of spin that comes out of some of the OSU media, and rightly so. That's just the way media does. That's why they're called homers.
My Halloween decorations outside just made a sound, and I'm like, what the fuck was that? It's my Halloween decorations out front. I'm
okay,
like,
yeah.
What the hell? I think that's our cue to go. But yeah, Michael, are we doing a Big Ten episode this week?
Yes. Yes, we are going to.
Okay, we'll do that live too then.
Yeah, cool. That'll be out Friday. We do it Thursday, I guess. I don't know.
I don't know, man. We'll probably do it, Thursday live or something.
Yeah. We'll put out a community note about when that live stream is going to be coming. We'll try to start a little bit earlier. I know everybody's got to get in bed, at least if you're on Eastern time like we are. But appreciate you guys coming. Hope to see you around soon, and we'll be back Thursday with another. All right. Bye.